Beyond the booth, Mountain West insider Terrence Newman joins us. Nevada is hosting Boise State Friday night homecoming Hall of Fame weekend. Very exciting, a lot of festivities. I was on campus tonight. We were taping Tuesday, October 21st. I was leaving a midterm, and I saw students roasting marshmallows over open fire, like some little bonfires set up just kind of in front of the student union. I don't know if it was specifically related to homecoming, but it felt like it was. And I saw some other students like sitting on the grass, felt very autumnal,
I was about to say,
homecoming.
maybe they're just, ushering in fall.
Yeah, it was very fall. It was very fall forward.
Yeah.
Nevada fell forward on the road, 24-22 at New Mexico last week. Terrence, it was certainly a bounce back
Great
performance.
game to watch if you didn't have a rooting interest.
Yeah.
Really fun game.
I said several times on the broadcast to Mike Edwards, and I think Mike wanted to murder me every time I said it, but I said, this is fun. It's college football. Somebody scores, somebody else scores. Nevada took advantage of a turnover late in the first half, got within 2 at halftime. They were within 2 and driving when they ran out of downs at midfield with fewer than 3 minutes to go in the ball game, and they ended up losing 24-22. And yeah, Nevada hasn't won a Mountain West game in almost 2 years, and they fall to 1-6 and 0-3 in the conference. But it did feel like college football. I mean, it was, as you said, if you didn't have a rooting interest, it was an enjoyable game to take in, but also still heartbreak for the Silver and Blue.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, it's kind of a similar story. You kind of getting tired of the moral victories. You want some real victories now. But there was a lot of good to take from that game. For starters, the team kept the faith the whole game. Like they never got down. There was a few moments there where they could have folded, but they kept fighting back. That's something that you didn't quite see all the time in the beginning of the season, especially you go back to like the Middle Tennessee game, like once it started to go downhill, the team kind of started to close in on itself. But you could tell that like they stayed in it, and because a part of that is they have a belief now that, hey, we got a guy, we can go down the field, we can score points, no score is out of reach anymore.
How did Carter Jones look to you in start number 2? It felt like he leveled up. Obviously, New Mexico doesn't have the same defense as San Diego State, but he was still playing on the road. First road start for the freshman. I was impressed.
Oh, he looks much more comfortable this week. I mean, expected that. Like we said last week, I think we underestimated just how good San Diego State's defense is. New Mexico's pass defense is nearly in the same class as theirs. So you could tell that he was feeling a lot more comfortable out there. The wide receivers had a little more space to work out there. Something that, like, I wasn't there at the game. I was there watching it at TV. So something I could really see on TV is he's just got this natural ability of wherever the lane is for him to get the pass off, he's able to adjust his throwing motion. And he's able to get the ball out in so many different arm angles. I don't know if you can see that from the booth as much, but the way he can just sling it off sidearm. But then when he really wants to put some nice touch on like a deep ball, he's got that nice over the top release. There's something you really can't teach that. There's something natural about that.
I mean, he was 23 of 29 for 202 yards, no touchdowns, but no turnovers. And I think Nevada will take that at quarterback every day of the week, and probably would have won at least 2 more games this season.
Yeah, well, if they'd had that. Before he took over as starter, they were averaging 150 yards passing per game. Yeah, I remember we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I was like, look, if you just bump that up 75 more yards, you probably got another win or 2. So the fact that he's up there around 200, and honestly, I think as he continues to play, those numbers are just going to get the yardage numbers are going to get higher and higher because as he's getting more comfortable, he's starting to take more and more shots, and the coaches are feeling more comfortable to open up the playbook more and more with them.
Also, I think we need to talk a little bit about the receiver core, which has been a bit beleaguered, at least reputationally,
A lot of
through
guys have
the
stepped up.
season. Yeah,
A lot of guys have stepped
Marshawn
up.
Brown. Marshawn Brown
Um,
from Bishop Minogue. He's a Reno guy. 7 receptions, 75 yards. He had his first career touchdown last week. Dakota Thomas,
I was
eight
about to say Dakota
receptions.
Thomas came out of nowhere these last few weeks.
I mean, these guys are looking now much more like legitimate threats, something some matchups defenses have to pay attention to because they will get burned. Now, Nevada didn't have a passing play for longer than 24 yards in the loss to New Mexico, but 15 completions to the wide receivers in one game. I mean,
Yeah,
that's progress.
it's night and day from what it looked like at the beginning of the year. You know, we like I said, we really settled into that two tight end package because that's what was working for the talent that we had on the field then, and so I think a lot of those guys really just didn't get the opportunity because there was only one, maybe two wide receivers on the field at a time. And we weren't really calling plays for wide receivers to really get out and try to stretch the field more. So that has been nice to see that there is a little bit more depth and a little bit more talent in the wide receiver core than we saw earlier in the year.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. The Pac's 1-6, and they're
Yeah.
desperate for a conference win, but at least we're seeing evolution, positive growth, green shoots in the passing game, which everybody, but specifically we had identified as an area that needed to grow. Now, the running game has kind of dropped out, right? Nevada rushed for a season low 55 yards on 28 carries. I mean, that's 2 yards a carry. Nevada ran for over 200 yards 3 games in a row. And of course, this is tied to the fact that Chuba Purdy, who, when he was the starting quarterback, was Nevada's leading rusher. And going into last game was still Nevada's leading rusher on the season. And Chuba has been relieved of the starting quarterback duties, but he still caught 2 balls. One was a little shovel pass
Yeah,
for
to
15
say those stats are
yards.
a little misleading. It was more of
Yeah.
a shovel pass. It's more like a
Yeah.
run play, but yeah.
Yeah. And he had one true running play as well. So that's 3 touches for Chuba. And I know he's somebody you kind of want to be centered in the offense, just in a different role to starting quarterback. And I totally agree with that. He's probably Nevada's most explosive athlete in a sense when the ball's in his hands.
100% agree that he is the most explosive athlete they have with the ball in their hands, especially in the open field.
I mean, at
So
least that
yeah,
we've seen this year so far.
yeah, by far, I actually believe that. I believe he is probably one of the best all around athletes on this team. Um, and I think right now, if you're one of the coaches, he's pretty, he seems pretty bought to the role that he's in. I'd like to see him take a bigger role. And if I'm one of the coaches, what I'm doing is I'm going to him and I'm saying, hey, you got a few more games left in the season. If you really want to try to continue to play football after this year, it's not going to be as a quarterback. You know, your best route to playing football long term is the Julian Edelman route. You know,
Mm.
becoming relying on your wheels, relying on your athleticism, maybe become like a running back or a slot receiver type. So honestly, the best thing he could do right now is try to get as much reps working in the slot in the running back position and trying to build up as much tape as he can right now in that so he can kind of display those skills. Um, I think there's a template for how they should be using him. So last game he had 3 touches basically for
Mm-hmm.
16 yards. What's that, about 5.3 yards per touch? Um, do you remember the 2007 national championship Florida Gators?
Vaguely. I know where you're going with this.
So everybody
Yeah.
remembers Tebow Mania, okay?
Yeah.
What most people don't remember is
Yeah. This is the year
the
before.
starting quarterback was Chris
Yeah.
League.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow was just a freshman, and he was
And
just
like a
used.
goal line specialist and
He was
stuff.
used in very spot areas. So that year, Tim Tebow attempted 33 passes, had for like 358 yards, but he had 89 carries for 469 yards, 8
That's a
TDs.
lot of carries. Eight
So
touchdowns?
I did the math. He basically averaged about 9 touches a game.
Okay.
And they were varied but a lot of it for him was really as like a short yardage running back, wildcat type quarterback.
Hmm.
Now, Tim Tebow is built more like a Mike Allstott, so you can run
Sure.
him like a fullback. So
Yeah, Chubb is
I
not
don't
quite as
think
physical a
you're not
runner.
going to
Yeah,
use Chuba exactly that same way. Chuba, I'd compare more to like a Christian McCaffrey type
sure.
type of like build and size. But yeah, I would like to see him get probably like 10 touches a game. And it should be a varied mix, a lot of the type of fly sweeps and runs that we saw last game. Let's get a few more of those. I'd like to actually
Options where he's the trailing guy.
Yes, I'd actually like to see him line up in the backfield some more
Hmm.
alongside Carter as like a true running back. Um, and then also, there was a play during the game last week where they Carter motioned out and they had the running back step over and they did a wildcat and it had went
Yeah,
for like no gain.
yeah. Dominic Kelly.
No offense to Dominic Kelly. I want to see Chuba Purdy be the guy that motions into the quarterback spot and is the wildcat quarterback in those short yardage situations. Because his ability to run with the ball in the RPO game, it attracts so much attention that it opens it up for the rest of the running backs. And without that attention being brought onto him, the other running backs just, they're just not the type of they're not Eric Dickerson types. They're more running back by committee types. They're not the type of guys that are really gonna be the engine of the offense. Um, but when they have a guy like Chuba Purdy to play off of, it makes it a lot easier for him. So yeah, that's where I'd like to see. I'd like to see him get up to about 10 to 12 touches a game. Honestly, we should have a grad assistant, somebody on the sideline who is charting how many times he is getting touches, and so we can make sure that we're working in plays to get him in because like you said, he is the most dynamic player they have with the ball in his hands. He's not the best thrower, and that's why we don't want him playing quarterback right now. But he is the best athlete, and we do need to use that. And I think that is honestly the missing piece to this offense. And this offense could really take off if we could find a way to fit him in nicely. So yeah, I'd say like few more touches where he's getting those fly sweeps, 3 or 4 plays where he's like the short yardage wildcat quarterback doing some RPO stuff. You could also still slip out the tight end,
Hmm.
on a fake because he's good enough. He can find Jeff Carpenter in the flat or on like a streak down the seam or something. We can catch the defense slipping. I wouldn't go crazy. Maybe like one pass a
Yeah,
game, something like
sure.
that. But he has a chance. If they do this right, Chuba has a chance to have one of the craziest looking stat lines this year. Because he could end this year with like 500 yards passing,
500 yards
500
rushing.
yards
Yeah, yeah,
rushing, and maybe
yeah.
like another 200 yards receiving. Like he
Receiving.
really could, yeah, like he really could, if they utilize him right, be the missing piece in this offense, which is really taking a lot of steps since Carter's taken over.
So you're calling for the Tebow template.
Yes.
Terrence Newman calls for the Tebow template for
It's
Preston
weird.
Chuba Purdy.
The quarterback rooms. Look, I'm not saying the 2025 Nevada Wolfpack are equal to the 2007 Florida Gators, but like the
Understood.
dynamics of the quarterback room are kind of similar in odd ways. So like Chris Leak was a senior. Uh, no, Chubb was the senior in this case.
Yeah.
Carter Jones is the freshman. Tebow is the freshman. But like Chris Leak was your more traditional drop back pocket passer. He was
Conventional.
athletic, but he wasn't considered a runner. His game was a lot like Carter Jones, who is a more traditional, in the pocket quarterback who is athletic, but isn't really a runner per se. And then you had the really dynamic athlete who was very raw with their passing technique, but you still wanted to get them on the field because they're such a dynamic athlete and they pull so much attention that it just it they're field tilters, they pull the gravity of the defense, which just opens up things for everybody else.
Okay. Well, we're recording Tuesday night, the 21st. I have the coaches show with Coach Choate tomorrow, Wednesday night at 6 at Brew Brothers. And I
Tell
will
him I'll give me a call.
yeah, I'll
I got
specifically
notes. I
cite
can write it down in an email if he wants.
yeah, I'll specifically cite Terrence Newman calling for the Chuba Purdy as Tebow template. Okay, so we're focusing on the explosive nature of Chuba Purdy with the ball in his hands. But that is a nice segue to talk about the most explosive team Nevada, I think, has faced all year long. The Boise State Broncos offense is, they're all explosion. They are, they're home run hitters. They got a three-headed monster running back. I mean, Maddox Madison is very methodically put together a statistically impressive campaign. And here's a little note for you with regard to explosive things happening. Boise State had 13 offensive plays of 20 or more yards against UNLV. The Broncos beat UNLV last week, 56-31. So 13 offensive plays of 20 or more yards, explosive plays, making the Broncos the only team in the nation with multiple games gaining 20 plus yards on at least 11 plays, and they've done it 3 times. So that's lifted directly from the Boise State game notes, and God bless the Boise State comm staff. I would phrase that a little differently, which is to say Boise State has had at least 11 explosive plays 3 times this year, and they are the only team in the nation to have done that. Nevada's defense has a big challenge, and it's a multi-dimensional challenge.
It is a multi-dimensional challenge. But if I was going at it for them, honestly,
Yeah, what do you take away?
I'm focusing on taking away the running game, and I'm trying to make Maddox Madsen beat me. Um, and then, look, we've talked about Maddox Madsen before. He's a fine quarterback. I think he's good. I don't think he's great, but this isn't even really about him. They have a stable of running backs. Now, when the season started, Malik Sherrod in the first game got most of their carries. I transferred from Fresno State, and I remember I told you, "Oh, they have this younger guy, Sire Gaines.
Yep.
He's really the guy." Like once they start getting him more carries, then this offense will start to take form. Little did I know.
Little did any of us know.
There was a third guy in that stable, and that when we talk about the big plays, he's the big play guy. Dylan Riley, 86
and he's coming off a career game against UNLV. Sorry to interrupt you.
So 86 carries, 695 yards, 8.1 yards per carry.
That's good.
You like that? That's good.
Yeah, I do.
So
yeah,
they really do have just a three-headed monster attack. So Dylan Riley he's your home run hitter, but Sire Gaines 75 carries, 373 yards, 5.0 yards per carry. So he's like your big bruiser, and then you got your speed guy. And then they have really good receivers. They have 3 really solid receivers.
Latrell Caples and Chris Marshall and Ben Ford.
Yeah. Now, Chris Marshall, you want to talk about like passing the eye test. He looks like he should be the physically most imposing receiver in the Mountain West. Just coming off the bus, you look at him and he's got an NFL body. His dad was an NFL player. But he's really he's like a big home run guy for him. He'll get some big yardage for him. Mm-hmm. But really, like Ben Ford and Latrell Caples are like the meat and potatoes guys for him. Ben Ford, 21 receptions, 385 yards, 5 TDs. And then Latrell Caples, 22 receptions, 299 yards, 3 TDs. Now, those guys are just real studs. And then Chris Marshall is just a matchup nightmare. So when you do try to stop the run, you are putting a lot of pressure on your DBs because those are pretty tough matchups. But if I'm going to attack this team, I'm going to have to try to stop them up front first on defense. And then once we get them in passing situations, what we do best is get after the quarterback. And I think the DBs for Nevada have played pretty well this year. especially if you go back and look how they played against really pass heavy teams. So yeah, that's how I would approach it that way. And then on offense for Nevada, what the matchup to really look at, Braxton Philly, the big defensive tackle they got. Guy, he is 4.5 sacks. Not a lot of tackles, but he just eats up a lot of space. He does his job. He takes up a lot of blockers, and I
Number
think,
90.
yeah, and I think for Nevada, offensively, if you're gonna give out like an MVP award for the offense, not a whole lot to choose from. uh, I would actually probably go with the offensive line, especially
Mm-hmm.
the interior part of the offensive line,
Yeah.
with Madrigal at center there and Grabowski at guard, and so yeah, that's a matchup I'm really intrigued to see, uh, especially if Nevada's going to try to get this running game back on track, and if they're going to have any chance of putting up some points, they're going to have to keep Carter Jones upright when he's back there to pass. Um, so yeah, that matchup right there on the interior defense and offensive line is going to be for the big guys. Big Mike's going to love that. Like, yeah, that's going to be a really good matchup. And then another guy they got that Carter's going to have to really pay attention for, especially as a young freshman. Ty
Yeah.
Benefield, defensive back,
Yeah.
49 tackles, 2 interceptions. He's kind of all over the field for Boise State. He's a guy that for the young quarterback, he's going to want to keep an eye on and make sure he knows where he's at, and because this team, from a talent point of view, is I don't. San Diego State defensively, I think, is a better team defensively than Boise State, talent
Sure.
wise.
But
But
Boise State's
offensively, yeah, I think Boise State. So overall, pretty close. But I'd say it's a toss up between those two.
Boise
It's a
State.
coin flip, really. Just
I
because I
mean, they're
really respect San Diego State's defense
yeah.
that much. Um, but from an offensive standpoint, yeah, yeah, this is definitely the most horses they've seen.
I mean, look, they're averaging 478.6 yards of total offense per game. That's best in the Mountain West and 12th in the nation. I mean, this is a
Yeah,
world-class offense right
yeah,
now for
yeah.
Boise State, but their defense is kind of better than you'd think, at least tail of the tape, right? Like they're giving up 160 yards on the ground, right? That's Nevada probably thinks they can, attack that rushing defense a little bit, but they keep opponents under 200 yards a game passing. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen on accident. So it's a pretty good Boise State team. Their
Yeah,
two
they have a really
losses.
real good array of athletes in the defensive
Yeah.
backfield.
I mean, look, this team lost to South Florida in the opener back in August,
No
and they
shame in that
lost it,
loss.
and they lost at Notre Dame,
Yeah.
right?
Right
And
now, South Florida I think is the betting favorite to be the group of five team to make the playoffs. So, you
yeah,
know,
they're
not
five and
that
two. They're unbeaten in conference, and they just absolutely took UNLV to the woodshed in
and they
Boise.
seem to be catching their stride too, right at the right time. So it'll be a fun one out of Mackey.
Oh yeah, fun. I mean, it looks pretty impossible, Terrence, but stranger things have happened to Boise State at Mackey Stadium in the past, and it is homecoming, and the 2010 team that did beat then number 3 Boise State in the most celebrated game in Wolfpack football history. I mean, that team is going in to the Nevada Athletics Hall of Fame this weekend, and I'll have
Okay.
the
Okay.
honor
Maybe
of
maybe
yeah.
a little
See,
little magic dust can sprinkle
yeah,
off.
yeah. Virgil Green is going in two different ways as an individual performer and also as a member of that 2010 team. And there's a great event Thursday night at the GSR, and then Friday morning, there's a brunch at Mackey Stadium. So I have the great privilege of emceeing or speaking at both. And so, there's a little magic in the air, but this Boise State team just does seem kind of pretty daunting. I mean, I think it's the best team Nevada's played this year. I don't think there's any question.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it's the only team I could put in their class would be San Diego State. And we know how that turned out. But I do come out of last week with some hope. Because they were in it. They were moving the ball. They probably had a couple of their best drives, just complete drives of the season happened last week. So
Absolutely.
there's some things to build off of. New Mexico went up to Boise State. They hung with them. They ended up losing by what, about 16, but like they
Mm-hmm.
put up some points. They scored up in the 30s. They had a tough time stopping them. I think Nevada's got a better defense
Mm-hmm.
than what New Mexico has, despite what the scoreboard said last week. So you know if if we can
Here's your
stop
number,
the run,
Terrence.
if we can stop the run on first down, make second and long, turn into third and long, and then LaBarbera and the boys up front can put a little pressure on Maddox, and then I think once you put a little pressure on Maddox, you can make him press a little bit and maybe make a mistake here or two, and maybe throw a pick here and there, and then the freshman is feeling himself a little bit more. His third week as a starter. He's big man on campus now. And stranger things have happened, John.
All right. All right. So here's your number. Boise State is unbeaten in its last 85 games when scoring
It's a
35 or
lot of
more
games.
points. The last time they scored 35 or more points and lost was on November 12th, 2011, to then number 24 ranked Texas Christian. So
John, has
Nevada needs
anybody
to
come
keep
close to 35 points on us other than what, Western Kentucky, right?
right. So, and that was with a
But
freak,
even that was
yeah,
it
freak
took.
onside kick attempt return
So
for a touchdown. So what I'm saying is, if Nevada can just keep Boise State, in the
if this
low
defense can play
stratosphere,
like the defense we've been seeing all year,
yeah,
and the offense
stranger things have happened.
continues to improve the way we've seen it improve these last 2 weeks, I mean, this game's world's different than how it looked 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And look, Nevada played
You
Boise
know,
real tough in Boise last year. Lost by
so
only 7.
yeah. So like I said, stranger things have happened. I got a feeling the guys are probably disappointed there was another loss, but at the same time, they know that they were in that. I don't feel that they were as deflated probably as they were after the San Diego State game. I think they did
Right.
I was pretty impressed to see how they bounced back from that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I was kind of afraid that might be one of those games where guys started to shut it down and tune out, but it didn't look like that was happening. So it seems like these guys are still locked in to wanting to play some good football. And if you play in the Mountain West, you get excited when Boise State comes to town. Just like if you play in the Big Ten, you get excited when Ohio State comes to town. If you play in the SEC, you get excited when Alabama comes to town or when Georgia comes to town, So, like when you used to play in the Pac-12, you got excited when USC came to town. So, this could be that extra motivation for them, these guys, too, So,
I'm excited to have you on the sidelines for this one, Terrence. I don't think you've seen Boise before,
no,
at least not at Mackey.
no, not up close. No.
That'll be good. Okay, let's be on the booth. He's Mountain West Insider Terrence Newman. We have the Coaches Show tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at Brew Brothers, no cover, at the Eldorado downtown, just over my right shoulder. And Terrence will be on sidelines with the Hall of Famer Mike Edwards and me Friday night, 7
That's
o'clock
a nice
kickoff.
flex of your view, by the way.
Like that. It pops nice. It pops nice. The green is the silver legacy. Yeah. But Terrence and Mike and me, all your rowdy friends, our coverage starts at 6 o'clock, kickoff at 7 o'clock Friday night. Boise State under the lights at Mackey on 105.7 FM. So until then, peace.